Disclaimer, these tutorials won't make you an instant pro. You actually have to play the game to actually get experience, so keep that in mind while watching this. Hello everybody, this is Nitro005 here, and today I'm going to be breaking down Metro Malice Engineer on the mission 2 cities. On this tour for 2 cities, I'm going to be breaking down every single class on every single mission within 2 cities. I want to start off with Metro Malice Engineer, being that he's actually pretty much a lot of fun to play in Metro, in my opinion. You have a lot of movement to do, a lot of placements, running around, and I figured this would be a good tutorial to start off with. If you guys have a particular class you'd like to see on one of the missions in 2 cities, let me know in the comments below. I will eventually get to the other missions, but preferably I'd rather play the 2 cities since it's the most common. But as I said, if you have any classes you'd like to see, let me know in the comments below. But with that being said, let's jump into the tutorial. So now let's talk about loadout. For the wrench, it doesn't matter what you use, but this is the loadout that works for the strategy. If you don't have these items, it won't work. Like I said, the wrench doesn't matter. You can use stock, Eureka effect, the Jag. I prefer to like the Jag, so it's just based on preference. But for the secondary, you should have the Wrangler, and for the primary, you should have the Rescue Ranger. Both of these are necessary for what I do in this video, and if you don't have it, then this strategy isn't for you, and it won't work. So, if you can, get your hands on those 2 weapons, and you should be okie dokie. With that, let's get into what your first upgrade should be. So now let's talk about upgrades. I'm going to give the upgrades in an order of importance. So first, let's start off with dispenser range. Dispenser range is the most important. Always get it first, get in the habit of doing it. Your second thing should be 2 building upgrade canteens. These are important to carry along if everything gets destroyed, and then getting max metal capacity. You can also get building health. It really depends on your preference. I personally like having the extra metal for when I pick up buildings, and it'll help out with this strategy. Is that it really depends if you'd rather have building health. Both of them are very good for the beginning, either having building health or 2 metal capacity. All you really need is 2 metal capacity as well, so don't go overboard with it. Building canteens are very important to have, like I said, if everything gets destroyed. So there's the second most important, but the thing I find the most important is dispenser range. Dispenser range gives a longer range to everybody, so they don't have to get right up close to the dispenser to get ammo. I find it very annoying when engineers do not get dispenser range, so make sure you get dispenser range. It will help your entire team, and it will help yourself from getting it destroyed. So yeah, that's pretty much everything for upgrades. Now let's hop into our first building placements. So let's talk about initial building placement. So your entrance teleporter should go right here in between the 2 doors. Put it there so it's easy access for everyone. This will change later if you get 2 ways, or you don't have to change it, but it makes it easier. Your exit will go right about where I'm going to place it. Some people put it up above, but you don't really need to do that. That place is there. Nothing really targets teleporters. Your dispenser does not have to go behind the barrel, but on this map, if you do put it out, keep in mind you'll be moving it behind the barrel or behind the box. And your sentry, your first sentry placement should be right over there. This will enable you to get the most damage, and you're going to see a lot of your clip go out during the first part. So this is to maximize your damage, keep in mind, and make you more efficient and keep you busy on your toes. As I said, the dispenser will move later on in this wave, being that there's 6 giants that shoot rapid fire rockets, and they will instantly destroy your dispenser if they see it. As I said, nothing teleports a teleporter, so putting it there doesn't really matter. Nothing should really aim at it. You should be fine where that's at. Now let's talk about the actual gameplay. So the first wave is going to start off with a whole bunch of scouts coming out the first bottom gate. Nothing up top is going to be bothering you, so you don't have to worry about it. As you can see, I'm also healing my sentry and dispenser with the Rescue Ranger from range by shooting it. This is why the Rescue Ranger is important, and not only that, it's going to be important for this next part. After the scouts are done, you need to pick up your sentry from the position down there. Now you can always run and get it, but it's way easier to do this and pull it up. Then you're going to want to put it here. Some snipers are going to be coming up top. If the scout or anything does not go take care of it, your sentry is good placing there. As you can see, Samurai Demo Knights are coming from both the top and the bottom. The reason I also put this here is to wrangle it and block the Samurai Demerals from aiming you. If you put it there, they won't actually aim yourself, and they'll aim the sentry instead. So that's why the Wrangler is there. It also, as you've seen, it takes far less damage, and as you can see here, I'm moving the dispenser behind the box. The reason I'm doing this is so it doesn't get destroyed by the soldier that is coming with the medics. Now in this part, as I said, the Wrangler is pretty important. You want to move your sentry back to the stairs because a whole bunch of Samurai Demo Knights are going to be coming. Unfortunately, I didn't have any help up top here, so I unfortunately did end up dying from these guys, as you can see right there. But usually if you have a soldier up top with you, you won't end up with the fate that I had. But other than that, usually the dispenser doesn't go down. As you see, we got a little bit pushed back here, so the dispenser got sort of destroyed there, and this is why I also bring building canteens. This was a perfect example right here. Both my sentry and dispenser were down, and I got them back up in a jiffy, and this allowed me to help them take out the other soldier that was coming. This allows me to set back up quickly again and get people back on their feet. In the first wave, you really shouldn't use a building canteen on just the dispenser or just your sentry unless very, very necessary. Make sure you keep the dispenser behind something because there's still giants that are going to be coming out with massive spam. As I said, there's 6 of them, and these 2 that come out next don't come out with medics. Here you can put your sentry right there in the most common spot of most engineers. You can wrangle your sentry to get the snipers if nothing is aiming at the snipers over there. Just some quick tips to help you if you're handling a little bit more by yourself. As you can see, we're just in here wrangling. The Wrangler just lets you get more damage. I believe the Wrangler does cause a sentry to fire a little bit quicker. Don't quote me on that, I could be totally wrong, but from what I've seen, it deals a little bit more damage than just normal firing speed. Now with sentry busters, make sure to blow them up away from everyone else and away from where you want to place your building. Doing this will help you and keep your team alive because sentry busters are an auto kill. So for the last 2 soldiers, you're going to want to place your sentry back here. Putting it back here keeps the sentry out of range, but it also allows you to have a more direct aim at the soldier when the medics are destroyed. Of course, you don't want to be shooting and popping the medics before the demo or a pyro can take out the medics. It's very annoying. I know this from experience when people pop it and don't let you destroy stuff. As you can see, wrangling for back here, they also really don't aim your sentry that much. So you won't have to really worry about that. And that's pretty much everything. This way's pretty basic. I have to deal with some spies, but that's pretty normal. I got pretty lucky, got some crits with my Jag. And I pretty much dealt with all the spies by myself, which was nice, being that I could do that. Usually I struggle with spies, and that's one of the main struggles. If you do need help, don't be afraid to call it. People are going to be willing to help you. So that's wave 1 complete, and I'm going to show you wave 2 here in a minute. So let's talk about your next upgrades. Make sure you get building canteens. What I usually do is get my building health here and my firing speed, and if I have enough, I usually get attack speed. Now, of course, this usually means you get a perfect game, so you usually can't get the attack speed on the Jag unless you had a perfect game. Unfortunately, our scout missed quite a bit. So what I did here is instead took jump height. Jump height allows you to jump the van, so if you happen to moving up and down, it gives you quick and easy access to run up and down that van rather than crouch jumping up it. It just makes it a little bit easier. Now into the gameplay of Wave 2. So in Wave 2, your sentry should just pretty much be in one of the generic spots for Engineer. There isn't really too good of a spot or a bad spot for it. As you can see here, my jump height gets me up. I'm not crouch jumping. Spy is going to be coming and aiming at me pretty much, so I asked for the pyro to help me up here. Like I said, don't be afraid to ask for help. If you need it, you need it. And I knew because of how many spies there are this wave, I was going to need it. So thank you to this pyro who helped me out. If you're watching this video, I appreciate it. Now, usually I handle a lot of the top by myself, but the pyro continued to help me up top, which I'm grateful for. Usually I just wrangle and shoot the demo man. When you do this, usually your sentry will survive, and if you're sitting far enough back, they don't bother you pretty much. It's pretty simple. Make sure you're watching your building health. Don't let your buildings fall to 0, of course, because that means a death for your buildings. And there's 3 waves of Demo Man that come up top. After that, you can move your sentry back pretty much. You can go back into the normal generic position. You can also move your sentry down. This one, I didn't move my sentry down. You can move it right near that box to help block the scouts, just in case. We didn't need it this one. They didn't get really too far. We were dealing enough damage to where it didn't matter. So up top, there's going to be giant Fist of Steel heavies. And not have that, they're going to be critted. Move your sentry back behind the stairs, and of course tell people to move up if they're not moving up. Most of them are coming from the top. I did almost die here, but I did survive. You do need help for this one. Your sentry's not going to be able to handle it. You see here, my sentry got lost all of its ammo, and here you can see I'm low on health. If you get low on health, you can use your sentry as a shield. Don't be afraid to hide behind your shield your sentry a little bit. But unfortunately, I ran out of metal and I couldn't save my sentry. Don't risk your life over your sentry. It is more important to keep yourself alive than keep your sentry alive, because inevitably saving your sentry could mean your life anyways, and the sentry's life. I know this from experience. Try to just keep yourself alive as best as possible, especially since you're not putting too many resistances on. As you can see, I died here. I got launched away, unfortunately. It happens. But, and as you can see, I used a building upgrade canteen to get myself back and set up again. Out of this, a whole bunch of battalion soldiers are going to come from the top. These guys are a real pain in the butt because A, you can't do anything. Make sure to move your dispenser up because, like I said, pretty much next part of the wave is up here, and you're not going to be fighting down there. So, wrangle your sentry again, or it will take way too much damage. Most of the time, they'll aim your sentry if you have it up close. If you move it a little bit back, they usually don't aim it as much, but they're still going to aim your sentry. Keep it wrangled to, of course, deal more damage from when they're further back and the sentry doesn't see it, and so it takes a lot less damage. If the dispenser gets low, you can always use a building upgrade canteen to heal it. Keep that in mind. If your buildings are low and you can't get to them at a time, you can always use a building upgrade canteen to fix it. Wave 2 and up, you should be able to use it for health if you really need to. Here, I usually just put my sentry in a generic spot. I put it here in the first part, and then when I got a chance to move, I moved it over to the box here to deal a little bit more damage up close. As I said, keep yourself moving. Try to move to where you can. There's nothing up top that will be coming to hurt you really, other than snipers, but they're not too much of a problem, and they only come out in 2. For sentry busters, again, make sure you blast them away from everyone. Do not blast it near the spot you're putting it, and do not blast them near your team. And that's pretty much wave 2 complete. So with that, let's get into your upgrades now. So your next upgrade should be another between building health and sentry firing speed. Now, don't get sentry firing speed if you aren't using your Wrangler a lot. The second sentry firing speed is for Wrangler only. The third one does absolutely nothing. So make sure to save your money and don't waste the 350 on the useless sentry firing speed. And then, of course, building health is always important, so I like to put a decent split between the two. Also, get more building upgrade canteens. After that, if you have enough, try to get some in your wrench swing speed, which I did this wave, but if you don't, you could always put more into jump height. Eventually, jump height comes into play later for a little trick that I like to use. For your building placements, I put my sentry down near the box down there, as you can see, and of course my dispenser is out. As I said, after the first wave, your dispenser can pretty much stay out in the open. Nothing's going to really destroy it that easily, and I bet you should have more building health on it anyways, so anything hitting it isn't going to completely destroy it anyways. So with that being said, let's show you the gameplay of the next wave. So starting off this wave, you should be standing up on the top. Your sentry is down there by the box, just in case a giant scout gets past in the beginning. Now, of course, you can't block all of them, because unfortunately you have to bring your sentry back up top, because there's going to be soldiers and another giant scout coming from the top. So make sure that you are watching the top and listening for the soldiers. Once you see the first soldier drop, it's a good idea to pick up your sentry and then bring it up and put it back somewhere relatively near the stairs, like I have been this whole time. As you can see, I see the first soldier dropping, and I pop it right near the stairs there. It's going to continue firing down until they come up from the top. Unfortunately, I had a little bit of a keyboard glitch there, and I was trying to pull out my Wrangler, but that didn't work. But I did manage to pull out my own mistake and survive it. This is a common mistake. I made this mistake as well, but unfortunately they weren't in too much of a jiffy for ammo. Your dispenser is way more important than your sentry. Do try to get a dispenser up instantly if necessary. I usually try to conserve my building upgrade canteens and will upgrade a dispenser to level 3. Don't be like me. Don't be that cheap guy. Just upgrade it with building canteens and save yourself the pain and trouble of doing what I did. I left that pretty much at level 2. I did come back and upgrade it later in the wave. As I said, you pretty much leave your sentry in the generic spot here. You don't really need to move it. You can if you want, but it's not a necessary thing. Here we ended up destroying the sentry buster before it could get to me. Again, if sentry busters are coming, make sure to blow them up away from the spot you want your sentry and away from your teammates. Do not blow it up on them. Don't be a troll. Pretty much for this wave, you leave it in the generic spot. So until anything else happens, I'm gonna cut until either the end of the wave or until something new happens. So near the end of the wave, you can move your sentry down near the box again. It's gonna be jumping Sandman giant scouts, so you can try to help block and put your sentry up a little bit closer. That is optional, of course, and it also depends on your team. As you can see here, my sentry does end up blocking one of them for a little bit, so that's why I came down here and put it here to help them from getting pushed back. This is a good strategy. It won't 100% work, because as I said, they are jumping, and perchance they could jump at the exact time they're about to get blocked. All scouts have an auto built-in jump if they're being blocked by something, so keep that in mind, but these ones just jump automatically by themselves, so they have a random chance at jumping at a random time. Other than that, that's pretty much the end, and I'm gonna get into what your upgrade should be for the next wave. So after this, your next upgrade should be maxing out your building health if you haven't already. And since you aren't going to be putting anything in firing speed, get your building canteens if you need any, and then get more swing speed. I like having at least a minimum of 3 swing speed, and once you have that, you can pretty much go into any other upgrades. I like putting into jump height, but that's of course your choice. But what I did here was I put a split between jump height and 2-way teleporters. So with that being said, I'll show you the new placement. Make sure you turn it 3 times into the spawn here, and you'll pick up your teleporter and move it here, or you can put it in the corner over there. If you put it in the corner over there, make sure to turn your teleporter twice. That's for 2 ways. This allows you to actually go right into the door of spawn. It won't kill you or anything. It allows you to just walk right in, straight to the spawn. As for your sentry, place it up top. You can place it at the bottom and take aggro from the big guy coming out, but if you have a pyro, it's probably nicer to let them air blast the rockets back at the face. That's usually what I do. So put your sentry up top. As for your dispenser, you can leave it out in the open or put it behind the barrel. That's your choice. But as long as they're fighting up front, it should be fine out in the open. If they're not, then it's probably a better idea to put it behind the barrel. So why up top? I did mess up a little bit here. I'm going to give a little bit of, but I'm going to show you the example of why I put my sentry up top. There's going to be engineer coming up top, and by that there's also going to be giant scouts that come from the top. I believe 4 of them. So basically what you do is you put your sentry there, and you're going to do what they call the catwalk. This is what someone called it to me. Basically, when they start coming out, you you block them, and when they try to jump, you move it back to a new spot. As you can see, I kept on wrangling it, which was my mistake, but as you can see, I had a pretty clean catwalk here up until this point. The next spot was supposed to be there, but I messed up just a little bit. They went around the corner a little bit wider than I would have liked to. But you put it there, and then the next one is right on the bridge. But that's pretty much the strategy for that. Other than that, I'm going to now swap because this was actually a failed wave, as you can see over here. I blocked most of them. I almost had it. He was low health. I'm going to skip ahead to the next part of the wave. So here we are back after the Squid Scouts. Now, for this, I recommend staying near the generic spot this whole entire time. The reasoning I recommend this is because there's engineers that are always going to be coming from the top sporadically throughout the wave. These engineers will build a sentry right in the generic spot and basically push you back to gate 2. Don't let this happen. And then make sure your sentry is somewhere near where it can aim them, whether it's here or over near the other ledge where I showed you to put during the first wave. You need to stay somewhere near or wrangle your sentry up here to shoot these engineers. As you can see, there's one there and there was another one earlier. But you need to make sure that you take out those engineers. They are not paying attention. It is your job. So after that little wave of medics and pyros, scouts are going to come from the top. It'll be 2 waves of them. Usually what I try to do is, if I can pull it off quick enough, which sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. This time I sort of did, but I stayed up there and then instead of healing my sentry from far back, I stayed up there and take some of the crit hits, which was my fault. I like to put my sentry up a little bit and then just sort of block them and heal it with the rescue ranger from range. Out of 2 waves, there's going to be a giant medic and giant heavy combo coming from the bottom. So when you're down here in the spot again, make sure you wrangle it to hit the medic. Do not make the medic pop uber on the giant heavy. Take out the medic first. If you cannot aim at the medic, then just keep your sentry wrangled until you can put an aim on the medic, or move your sentry over to this spot here so you can get a better aim on the medic. Of course, the engineers are a little bit more important than those big guys, so keep them down. Of course, here I knew that he couldn't build a sentry before I could take him out, so that's why I was a little bit lax with it. So after this, the last of the wave is going to be up top. I forgot about it in a quick moment, but put your sentry and your dispenser up top for the team. There isn't anything downstairs on the wave. I mean, I think a few scouts come from the bottom, but other than that, nothing really comes. It's going to be 3 giant colonel barrages, which means they're crit spammers. They're not as big as the boss in the beginning, but they'll spam crit rockets and pretty fast. Followed with Force of Nature scouts. That's pretty much the end of the wave. Just keep your sentry back out of the fray and don't let it take too much damage. Let it pick off the scouts. Wrangle it when the big guy comes out so it doesn't take too much damage, just in case. We are on the last guy there, but other than that, we did complete the wave, so I'm going to skip ahead to the upgrades. Now, for upgrades, it really doesn't matter, except make sure you top off building canteens if you have any used. It's good to have level 3. But I like, personally, to have movement speed and max jump height. It just helps you get around easier. And I also like having jump height for another reason, but we'll get into that later. So, for your building placement, you can either put your dispenser here behind the box, or you can put it behind the barrel. I changed my mind and put it peeking out behind the barrel a little bit. For your sentry, I put it down here. Now, if you're going to do this, you need the Wrangler, or it's going to be using its ammo. What I do is I like to take the aggro from the big guy, which is why I put my sentry down there. It also keeps you a little bit active. And neither that, this guy also doesn't destroy your sentry with the hits he does, so you don't have to worry about that. But I usually just let the sentry buster blow it up and use a building canteen for a new sentry, being that this is the part where you can get more anyways, and upgrades aren't going to be too effective anymore. So with that, let's skip ahead to the actual battle. So, as you can see here, if you don't wrangle your sentry, you would be wasting the ammo. It would shoot him in spawn, and he's uber to there. So basically, as I said, I put my sentry there to take aggro from the Chief Blast Soldier. He doesn't deal a lot of damage to your sentry, as you can see. A sentry buster's coming. Now, what I do is I let the sentry buster usually blow it up, because it's just easier than trying to go grab it, save it, blow up the sentry buster. Just use a building canteen and then put your sentry right there under the bridge. What this will do is actually pin him, and this is not an ordinary pin, it will permanently pin him. The only way he can really get around it is if someone pushes him out of the way, and it's not very common for anyone to push him out of the way. Will be stuck there, and that will be that, pretty much. It'll be very helpful to your team if they don't get pushed back. After that, there's going to be crit soldiers, and soldiers come from the bottom, and then crit Fist of Steel heavies come from the top. Of course, you should focus on the Fist of Steels, because they require a little bit more damage than the normal heavies, because they have damage resistance to range attacks. The heavy and probably Pyro, or whoever you're with, should be on the bottom. Should pretty much just be you and the soldier on top. This should be plenty enough to take out the Fist of Steels. After that, it's pretty much a generic wave. Everything just really stays from the bottom. But what I like to do is move my sentry over here, because there's an exploit that you can use on the sentry buster that's pretty fun. If you don't have a medic that's uber sawing, then you can use this tactic just to save yourself a lot of trouble, which is what I did. Basically, Sentry Buster should be coming here shortly. Right there. So when a Sentry Buster comes, you pick up your sentry and jump up on top of these barrels. If you jump up into this, that little fence up there, it will actually explode them in the spawn, as you saw there. I don't know what causes this. in its programming, but something forces it to explode there and spawn. So that's pretty much that. Crit heavies come out. Oh, and then after this wave of heavies, it's pretty normal. After this wave of heavies, a whole bunch of support of soldiers, engineers, and heavies will be coming out, and Demo Man. This will also be followed with the rest of the wave, which is Giant Medics and Giant Demo Man with 2 crit soldiers. Of course, as per usual, as I said with the Giant Heavy, make sure you wrangle on the Medic first. You don't want to pop the Medic's Uber because then it just takes longer and you're going to get pushed back. But it's pretty simple. Pretty much after this, make sure you're focusing engineers if they're starting to build. You don't want them to build. Last thing you want is a sentry up and you get pushed back. But pretty much everything's the same here, so I'm going to skip ahead to Wave 6 upgrades. We did complete the wave here. So final wave upgrades. It doesn't really matter. What I usually do is, of course, top up building, upgrade canteens, and then just get some resistance for whatever I can. Usually I find blast more important than anything else, but crit should be your first one, just in case you get hit by some crits. For building placement, dispenser, just put it into normal generic outpost out like that, and then for your sentry, what I do is I take it up top. Once again, there's gonna be for Giant Fist of Steel heavies, this time not critted, and some pyros that come up top. It's just nice to be up top and fight them early if you need to move back or whatnot. I'm usually brave and try to hit the Fist of Steels with my wrench if I can get a swing on them. But it really depends on your playstyle. I like to be aggressive sometimes. Other than that, I'm gonna hop into the battle. So here we go, final wave. As I said, Giant Pyros and Giant Fist of Steel Heavies will come from the top. I mean, technically they're not giants, they're just Fist of Steel Heavies. I like to get brave and try to pop them with my wrench. If you're going to pop them with your wrench, try to do it when they're distracted. Also, some spies decided to pop up around where I was, so I had even more to fight with. So I sort of did it a lot more poorly than I usually do. Up top, usually I can handle the Fist of Steels by myself as Engie, but I couldn't. What I did there was I put my sentry out there, used a building upgrade canteen, and just bought it back so I'd have level 3 again. Since you're going to probably be using them a lot more during this wave, if you're getting pushed back or whatnot. Make sure you move your sentry to where your team is. If you're starting to fall back, make sure that you move your stuff back as long with it. We did end up losing Gate A and Gate B, so I'm going to jump ahead to when we lose Gate A here and show you the sentry placement there. So what I like to do for Gate A is dispenser should always go behind that wall there, and I like to put my sentry right there up in the fray. Now if you're going to do this, you have to be paying attention to sentry busters at all times. You cannot blow the sentry buster right up there or you're going to tick off your team and blow them up. That's a good way to get pushed back. Now the reason I put it there is I like to stand there and then stand on top of the sentry glitch spot. So when a sentry buster does come out, I can actually just pick it up from over here. As you see here, I just pick it up and the sentry buster will blow up right in their spawn. Fun. It's a pretty nice trick to use. as I said, we did also lose the other gate here, so I'll be showing that one here shortly. Other than that, you should cap your sentry back on that gray mound or something, and when a sentry buster comes, explode it back further, just so no one walks into it. Just some tips from me. So I'll skip ahead to when we lose the last gate. So for the last placement, you'll need to move your dispenser behind this wall that I'm walking to, right over here. This is a good spot for it. It's pretty much the best spot for it in my opinion. And your sentry should go right up here. That was an excellent jump from me. I wasn't expecting to pull that off, to be honest with you. But your sentry goes right up here in that spot. That's pretty much the best place for your sentry, and it gives you good covered ground from there. That's pretty much everything for this wave. Giant medic and a giant black box soldier come out. Make sure to get the giant medic first, and try to avoid getting hit by that black box soldier. He heals pretty much all his health from any damage he does. It's ridiculous. Hilariously annoying, and that's pretty much it. So I'm just gonna speed through this and get us to the victory screen. So that's pretty much it for this. If you don't get pushed back on the final wave, you pretty much just leave it in the generic spots, either on the tank there, near the glitch spot on that box, or near the stairs where I had it, and then just wrangle near the end of the wave when the giant medic, giant black box come out. That's pretty much it. If you guys have any tips or tricks I missed, make sure you leave something in the comments for me. I will gladly take them up. I'm planning on doing another just overall Engie video for tips and tricks that I might have missed. If you guys like this, make sure to leave a like. And if you guys have a class that you want to see next, let me know in the comments as well. I'm more than happy to do a class that you guys want to see. Remember that I'm doing 2 cities first. So, keep it for 2 cities. Hope you guys enjoyed, and until next time, remember, leave no one behind, and then teach him how to play the game. See you guys next time.
Hey, look, buddy. I'm a helicopter.